Welcome to Straight from the Muzzle, folks, where we're anything but straight. My name is Space.
My name is Bix.
And we welcome you to our episode, which is about what today?
Today is Fangasms, one of my favorite episodes.
Yay!
Woo!
We've saved up a lot of emails.
Yes.
There were some February ones, but I'm like, too late, delete.
No!
I didn't really delete them. I did respond to them, but I just moved them to a different folder.
Yeah, fair. We need to like organize Fangasms so that we're not missing emails though.
True. Well, I was just reading on our main podcast hosting site, Buzzsprout, and they do now have a little button for fan emails. So I'm going to be researching that, see how that all works out. Because I think you can either like send in a text or you can just send a little blurb from the actual just site itself. And I don't know if it translates to Spotify. I can look into that later, but that'll be a lot easier for you guys. You don't have to like go to Gmail and then type out an email or whatever. I know how hard that is for some of you.
Hey, I'm not that young.
Jeez, Space. We have about 12 emails. So even split for both of us here.
Yes.
They start as early March and go as late as this month, which is May.
Recently, yeah.
And as a little treat to you guys, not that it matters, I will be editing this episode today.
Woo!
Woohoo!
I wish you luck. I wish you the best of luck.
I haven't edited an episode in like 2 years, so
you got this.
So excited for this
kind of thing. Luckily, that kind of thing is like something that it's like. Well, okay. Let me rephrase this. It's one of those things that very well could just come back and you're like, oh yeah, no, I remember how to do this, and it's like no problem at all. Or it's one of those things that you completely forget, and you're like starting from scratch all over.
No, I think I've got some pretty good muscle memory from it.
That's good. Because like for me, there's a lot of things that's like I'll do something repeatedly for days and days and years, and then I drop it for like a month, and when I come back, I'm like, how do I do this?
Yeah.
And I just don't remember it at all for some reason. Maybe that's just me and my ADHD brain, but I don't know.
I mean, honestly, I really should just edit an episode every now and then just to kind of keep myself up to speed.
Yeah.
The reason why Qrow won't be editing this episode today is because Qrow's house flooded due to a severe storm. I suspect probably a tornado, but it's probably just a severe
really
storm.
Hammered out there, haven't they?
God, for real! Like the tornadoes have been on point in a bad way.
Yeah. The only gripe I have about my house is last night at like 2, we had no water pressure, so I couldn't drink water all night. I was really thirsty.
Oh my god, it's awful.
I called the city utilities, and they're like, yeah, we're not aware of anything. If it's still like that in the morning, call us back. And lo and behold, this morning it was not like that. So I'll take it.
We have some water pressure, but the water pressure gets lower and lower the longer you're using the shower. But we also live in a condo, so we're on the bottom level and there's 2 above us. And apparently that all fluctuates with it too. So if other people are taking showers, then the pressure goes down.
Yeah, so, I just live in a duplex, so it's like my apartment and the apartment below us.
A dudeplex? Dudes?
We can't say that because the girls live downstairs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
We call ourselves the duplexers.
That's interesting.
That's like the name. So we all have iPhones, right? So that's the name of our text group together is the upstairs. We call ourselves the duplexers. And then the group text with us upstairs and the girls downstairs is greater duplexers. I'm not the one. I don't know who came up with that name, but it's just kind of stuck.
Oh, I probably shouldn't push that button. Oh, shit.
Uh-oh. What happened? What'd you do?
Well, okay. So, like, as you're talking, I usually am holding something as we're recording just to kind of keep me like a fidget-ish type thing. But I've got my inhaler in my hand.
Oh, no.
So I'm like, I I pulled the cartridge out because I do that every once in a while to clean, and then I noticed that there's this little like white button in there, and I'm like, "What's this button doing?" And then as I turn it around, I noticed that as I press the button, the number count goes down.
Oh no!
So now it's inaccurate. Oh well.
Boy.
Oh well.
That's fun.
Here you go. Here's a little sound effects for y'all. There you go.
I also fidget a lot. I have like a blowtorch lighter just sitting on my desk for some reason, and so it's like, fire.
I got a blowtorch lighter once from the Asian store. It was rad. I had no purpose for it other than to light candles, but it was cool to have.
Which Asian store?
There's, I think we got
Was
this
the one at Southtown?
No, it's definitely not the one I'm thinking of, but there's one on 9,000 and like State Street. It's called Ocean Mart or 7th. No, Ocean Mart and 9th.
Oh, Ocean Mart. Yeah, I know Ocean Mart.
There's that one. And then on the other side of the valley in there's one off of like Redwood Road and 7800 South. There's that one that we've gone to. That's where I got the torch lighter from. We also went there a couple months ago, and they were doing like a full-on like, what do you call those people?
Like festival?
Yeah, they were doing a festival.
Yeah,
it was a whole like parade.
There's a lot of like Asian stores around here because we have like the Ocean Mart. Yeah,
Ocean Mart, which they're all
Taylorsville.
I believe they're all owned by the same people.
They probably are. I wouldn't be surprised. So there's Ocean Mart. Then there is the Chinatown Market in South Salt Lake.
Yeah. That's one on State Street, right? Is that the one that has like the giant like Chinatown like arch thing?
Yeah. That's the Chinatown Market. There's actually two of them. There's one in South Salt Lake, and there's one closer to West Valley, I think, out by Redwood. Like on Redwood Road or something. I don't know.
The Chinatown Long and Market. That's the one that I was thinking of. Well,
yeah.
Oh, yeah. There's another one. There's one just right here at Midville called Long and Market.
Yes, that's the one.
Off of 72 and I don't really know what the side street on it, but
fair. Yeah.
Kim Long Fresh Market, Soul Market.
Yeah, and then there's this other company called Asian Gifts, and they are in every.
They're in every freaking mall.
Yeah. They're in every freaking mall, and they have like the weirdest stuff. Every time my boyfriend visits, I have to like drag him the opposite way because he wants to go buy like crappy pocket knives.
But they have the cool canes that you open them up and they're swords.
And they're like katanas, yeah.
Yes.
They have those. I don't know. You can find the weirdest stuff at those stores.
It always smells weird too when you go in there. It's the incense.
Mm-hmm.
The incense that's not burning, but you can smell it in an abundance. It's just, it's like that. It's that obvious smell that lets you know you're in an Asian store. That's just like how when you go to a Mormon church, you have that weird musty smell that is everywhere. And I don't know what it is, but I don't like it.
It's the carpet.
Is it the carpet?
I don't know. That's what I'm gonna guess because they like use the same carpet in every church.
It's like like a little bit of mint from whoever's chewing gum to a little bit of whatever else is in there. It's just a very distinct smell.
What is it with the LDS Church and like spearmint gum?
I don't know.
I like growing up in the church. My mom always had spearmint gum, or like always had the spearmint lifesavers. And she wasn't the only one. Like all of the mothers had spearmint gum on hand always.
Or those like wagon wheels, like little puffy wagon wheel treats for their kids. Yeah. My mom always had like Eclipse gum, or, and I'm really aging myself here, the little green square gums called Clarets. I don't make them anymore, but they're
I thought you were going to say Fruit Stripe, and I was like, dang.
Oh, they still make those.
They do still make those, but they're not as popular as they were back in the day. They actually, so they stopped production on those, on the Fruit Stripe.
That's too bad.
And so like through the 2000s and early 2010s, I think they restarted production in 2017, and they started selling them again. An unknown person bought the company and saved it from bankruptcy. I don't know.
I feel like if a company's going bankrupt, there's a reason for it.
Fair. Well, that's what happened to Hostess. So Hostess went bankrupt, right? They closed everything, and some unknown benefactor came and like gave them millions of dollars, and they reopened, saved them from bankruptcy. And that is public record. Like you can search that up, but the benefactor remains anonymous. We don't know who it is.
But anyways, besides the point, we probably could ramble on and on and on and on. Oh shit. So today's episode, besides what we've been talking about, is emails. Take it away.
All right. So
you got a long one.
It is long, yes. So this is an email from Think Potatoes. So they say, "Hello, I've been on the outside of the furry fandom looking in for years, and have relatively recently been considering myself a part of it. I've heard from multiple different places, and they cite our podcast and the Furry Explained podcast by
that's a good
Finn.
one.
I've not yet to listen to it.
Oh,
they say
like it.
Those being the podcasts that really drilled it home, and they've heard from multiple different places that you don't need a fursona to be considered part of the fandom, but I really want to take part in that side of it. That being said, I've been coming up short on ideas when it comes to how I want to present myself in terms of a fursona. Despite my many attempts, never really landed on a direction I want to go in. Recently, however, I've kind of fallen in love with playing as the most recent D&D character I've made for one of the campaigns I've been playing in. Her name is Saoirse. I think that's how you say it. Saoirse. I told you this is why I gotta have Google Translate.
Like Google's gonna know.
It might. Hold on.
Whatever. Are you gonna do it?
Saoirse.
Okay.
So yeah, see, I told you. So Saoirse. And she's a mousefolk warlock with a winged cat as her patron. I've gone through pretty much every step people take to make a fursona, except for making a ref sheet. I have an in-depth backstory, a little bit of art. I've role-played that as them, and this character honestly feels like a part of me. I only have two real concerns when making them not only my fursona, but my first fursona. The first is that they aren't really an extension of who I am. I kind of made them to be quite different from me on purpose to help me get out of my comfort zone for role-playing purposes. The second is that it feels like kind of a cop-out answer to a problem, and I'm not entirely sure if using a D&D character as a fursona is a good idea within the context of the fandom. And then they attached a drawing of their character, and it's really cute. I really like it. I don't think it's a cop-out. I know a lot of people who use their D&D characters as their fursonas, or their fursonas as a D&D character, right?
So I know Deer Dog's like a heavy D&D player. So I took a screenshot of this and sent it to her, and she said, "To be honest, I just view my D&D character like any other OC, and I think it's actually a really clever way to make a fursona if it's something someone is struggling with. I see zero reason why a D&D character can't be a fursona."
And see, that's the other thing is like creating a fursona is it's a really personal thing, right? So how you create your sona is up to you. So if you pull your sona from a book, great. If it's a D&D character, that's perfect, right? There's no wrong way to go about it.
There's lots of people that have pulled characters from already known, like, created things, like, you know.
My name, Bix, it comes from a book series called Endling, where the main character is named Bix, and I have always I've used that name for a long time, and there's nothing wrong with that.
No, there's not. In fact, it might actually not be a bad idea to create your persona based off of creating a D&D character. There's more in-depth.
That is true. There is a lot more in-depth. I will say, like, having an in-depth backstory, it's not required for a persona, right?
No, it's not.
Bix doesn't have any backstory. Right? But, like, having that is another great way to connect to your character.
My persona used to have a backstory, but as of current, he doesn't really have one now. I haven't really decided what I want to do with that yet.
That's fair. Bix is just an extension of me, right? And I don't need a backstory. He's just a goofy little guy, right? So it's really a personal thing. And there's no wrong way to go about it, right? It's all up to you, and nobody's gonna judge you for creating a persona from a D&D character. And if they do judge you, well, then screw them. They're not worth it.
Yeah, for real. It's not. Who cares? This is your representation of you, whether
Yeah,
that's through an already fictional character or something you created yourself. There's no, well, I don't want to say there's no wrong way to create a persona, because that in itself is kind of a tricky statement. Because you obviously
yeah.
don't want to. You obviously don't want to use something that's copyrighted.
Well, yeah. There is the wrong way to make a persona is to steal somebody else's persona.
Exactly. There you go.
But like, if you see somebody's persona that you really like, right, and you want to have a persona similar to that, make sure it's similar, not a copy.
Yeah.
Make sure they can be two distinct characters.
So I could definitely say, oh, this is one person, and then I look at another.
If you use the same colors, right, it's like, oh, they have a really similar color pattern, but their fur patterns are not the same, right? Or they're different emotes. Like, you don't want to directly...
I wouldn't recommend tracing over someone else's persona.
Don't do that either. Yeah,
I know.
You don't want to do that. That's something that's really looked down on. But like, I think
we're going to talk about that too in an upcoming episode about things, what not to do and what to do when it comes to art.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I have a whole tangent about AI art, both like in favor and against. But
I don't really. Okay, so no, I'm not gonna tangent on AI right now.
We can't tangent on AI right now. That's a totally
that
would go on forever.
Yes,
but I'll tell you more about that after. To answer the main question, D&D characters are not taboo personas, right? Making a D&D character and turning it into your persona, or vice versa, is a perfectly acceptable way to do it, right? And you can always, one thing you said is like, you made them different from you on purpose to help you get out of your comfort zone, and that's okay, right? And you can always change up the personality later on. It doesn't have to be a set in stone thing. Your character is supposed to evolve with you, right? It's supposed to change as you change. And sometimes some people don't want them to change, and that's okay too. So I think, yeah, it's just a very personal thing, and how you do it is up to you. And I don't think that, having a D&D character and turning it into your persona is absolutely not a cop out. It's a great way to do it, and a lot of furries are into D&D, and I guarantee that you would not be the first to make your persona from your D&D character.
On to the next email.
Yes.
Mine's a short one. Don't worry, I have long ones later on. This comes from Teal Fox Boy. They say, hi. I don't know why I said it like that. Like, hi. There we go.
Yeah, that's what I do. I say hi.
Hi. I've been listening to your podcast recently, as of this email, and I've gotten to season 3 so far. I love all the wacky topics you two talk about. I'm not sure what 2 they're referring to, because now
if they're in season 3, they're probably talking about
Sparrow.
you and Sparrow.
Right now, my most common choice is, I think, is Paradox, because she's always available. So,
fair.
Or he's always available. I'm still getting used to this. And working in this oil field job, it can get stressful, but you guys put a smile on my face every time. Also, hello from ND, which I'm thinking is North Dakota.
Yep.
Yeah. So, hello from Utah.
Hello.
Also from Utah.
I know.
Right.
Hello from Utah and hello from Utah.
Oh, dude, are you going to read this huge one?
Yes.
Oh God, yes. I'm so sorry.
Really quick, just in response to Teal, I'm glad we put a smile on your face, and I think that's overall the main goal of the podcast, is to bring a smile to people's faces and inspire them, and just bring joy to people.
Yep.
I've talked about that a lot in past episodes. Is how the furry fandom. That's what the furry fandom is for. Is to spread joy, and yeah.
And one of those ways to spread joy is to read other people's emails.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. So
is this the Oh, this is the one from Ash, not Blueberry.
Yes, so this is Ash. So Ash says, "Hey, Space and Bean," and then they include a disclaimer right below it. "My knowledge of your podcast is very limited because I've been listening to it from the very first episode, and I've currently finished the first episode from season 3. So I don't really know much about what's going on with the podcast recently. So Space and Bean, for all intents and purposes, Space and Bix." And then their email is as follows. So, "Hi, I go by Ash, and I really love your podcast. I started listening to it because I really wanted to start immersing myself in more furry things, kind of also as a way to sort of rebel against my parents."
Nice.
I feel that. That's a mood.
Nice.
I love all your side tangents and hope that they never end. Well, I hope you enjoyed the first 15 minutes of the show talking about Chinatown in Utah.
Right?
I don't really know what else to say except to tell you how I became a furry. It started when I was in 8th grade, and this amazing show about a blue dog came out on Disney Plus. And then in parentheses, I love this. In parentheses, if you don't know what I'm talking about, that's just sad.
Savage.
No, we do have an episode on Bluey. You'll get there, I promise.
Yeah, you'll get there.
Actually, by the time you listen to this one, you probably will have already listened to the Bluey episode. So yeah. Anyways, I started watching videos on YouTube about fandom. I started watching videos on YouTube about Bluey, and that eventually led to me watching some furry videos. About a year later, I started calling myself a furry and began watching more and more videos. Now I'm in 10th grade. Just 2 years later, I have 3 personas, even for my young furry age, but they are all based on my different personalities. My main Sona is named Ash, and he is a wolf with a red and gray pattern on his fur, including some black spots that look like ash, hence the name. Ash is kind of shy, but also a little bubbly and really likes hanging out with his friends. I will also try to include a picture of him at the bottom, and he does, and it is adorable. I love it. My second persona is Ace, who is also a wolf, but leaning more towards the fox side. Ace and Ash are kind of like brothers, though they do have different personalities. Ace is mostly white with red and black splotches that kind of resemble the suits in playing cards, hence the name. He is more of the naughty side of me, so we don't really talk about him.
What?
Though he also likes doing card tricks, which I really want to learn some, so I can eventually try to do them in fursuit. Good luck with fursuit pause.
Good luck.
My third persona is named Qrow, though he isn't a crow. He's actually, if you guessed it, a wolf, but more on the wolf side. Foxes and wolves are probably my favorite animals, if you couldn't tell. Oh. He's a bit more edgy, but is also kind of like another older brother to Ash. He has shiny black fur with fluorescent yellow eyes, and he also has a mask that resembles the Plague Doctor mask and also carries around a crowbar, hence the name. All right, that makes sense. I've really liked your podcast, and I can't wait until I fully get caught up. I'm just one of those people that are very organized, so you'll have to bear with me. Though it is bugging me that some of the episodes are missing on Spotify, and I think you'll explain that when I'm finished reading Space.
Yep,
but
I'll explain it.
I feel like I've missed quite a bit, even though you haven't talked about them in later episodes. I don't know if you took them down yourselves, or if Spotify did it, but there has to be something going on. Enough side tangenting. I was also wondering if Bean is still doing the podcast, or if she quit or changed her name again. I say again because in the very first episode they're going by Rory, then they changed it to Bean, and I think they changed it again, didn't they?
Yeah, now it's Sparrow.
Okay, so Sparrow.
See how long that lasts.
Yeah. We love you, Sparrow. I asked because it says all of the people in the podcast under the name, and none of them are Bean. I hope she's still doing the podcast, but if not, I understand, because she must be pretty busy for a fursuit maker. Space has also been a great inspiration as well. I also live in Utah. Welcome to the club. Though I don't know if you do anymore.
I do.
It's great to know that there's an actual furry living in Utah who is gay and has a husband. Because I have a boyfriend and I love him so much. He even drew my persona for me because I don't possess any drawing skills. It's great to see that there might be a chance for us in life. I really love your podcast, and I'm glad to see that you guys are still posting new episodes. Space and Bean have been a great inspiration, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Love, Ash. First thing I'm going to say, welcome to the Utah furry fandom. There's actually like 500 to 2,000 of us.
Yeah, there's a lot.
There's a lot. There's a lot of furries in Utah. Feel free to get involved in the community. Whether it be like U2, F2, or just some other friend groups here in Utah, but there are a lot of people here, a lot of furries.
There is they're not going to know about this, so maybe I'll just respond back to them. There's a con coming up for a woo, which is family friendly. So
yes.
if they end up going to that, they might meet me because
they'll probably meet both of us because I'm going to a woo as well.
I hope they really make the space bigger because it's so small.
I'm honestly waiting for
everyone in Utah goes there.
I think that it's probably going to move from the Davis Convention Center to the Mountain America Expo Center, and then from the Expo Center to the Salt Palace.
Why don't they just go to isn't the Salt Palace the one directly in Salt Lake?
Yes, that's the one right downtown.
Why don't they just go there? They have a big enough venue for it.
They have a big enough venue, but the Salt Palace is huge and really expensive, like to host an event at. So I think they're just trying to wait until it like gains more traction. You know, I think in the few years in the future, it probably will be at the Salt Palace.
Hopefully,
because the Davis Convention Center is absolutely getting too small for it, but
way too small.
Eventually, we'll get there. Eventually. But yes, there is a con here in Utah. It's actually happening in like 2 months?
July?
Yeah.
I think it's about 2 months.
I think it's right after my birthday, actually.
Let's take a look. A woo
dates.
Google. Just let me. Okay.
A
woo.
The Aperture Science. Oh, I am loving what they did with the website. That is great.
It doesn't say what dates on the first page. That's a little surprising. Hey, it's Space here. Yes, I'm pulling a Qrow, and I'm making a real quick tidbit of information. So I was looking on OWU, which is Anthro Week in Utah, and they do actually have the dates of the convention on the landing page, but it's in a place that you would not normally think to find, and it's kind of hidden. You have to scroll like halfway down the page, and then it talks about like welcome test subjects. And in their little paragraph, they have the dates of the actual con, but they didn't like highlight it or make it bold or change the font. It's just kind of like in the paragraph itself. And it's kind of confusing because it's like, why isn't it at the very top of the page like every other fur con out there? So I was wrong. It is there, but it's really, really hard to find. So there you go. Anyways, enjoy the rest of the show.
Oh, wow. Ultimate and Alpha are both sold out. I really wanted that belt. Dang it. The registration page also does not have the dates.
That's weird.
Attend. Attend. Let's see.
I clicked on attend and I went to register and it should have the dates on there.
July 19th through 21st.
Where did you find that?
About OWU. On the About OWU page.
That is not good for them to have. You shouldn't have to go search for it.
I was going to say, I would recommend putting that on the registration page or even on the first page.
Yeah. Close to end of July before Pioneer Weekend.
Mm-hmm.
To unpack just one or two things from the email itself. So Sparrow is still part of the show, but she's just not on as much because she's more focused on her career right now, which
her teaching career.
She's a teacher, which brings me to my next thing. So I noticed that they had said that there are some episodes missing from Spotify. That's not an actual. It's not like an error on their end.
Accident.
It's not an accident. Yeah, it's something that we did on our end about a year or so back. Sparrow tries to keep her work life and her personal life out of from away from each other. But for whatever reason, one of her or a few of her students found out that she was a furry, went on to her accounts, kind of got to know her a little bit more, and then started listening to our show. Well, here's the thing. So we talk about a lot of mature stuff on our show. That could be a bad thing for
That could get
Sparrow.
her in really big trouble.
Really big trouble. So what we ended up doing is I made an agreement with Sparrows. I pulled all of the episodes that I felt, or that we both felt, that were probably not the best.
That could have been problematic, yeah.
They're not deleted. They're just unlisted. In the future, when Sparrow has decided what she wants to do for her career, whether it's still teaching or if she does something else and she feels, okay, we can go ahead and put these episodes back into public, we will go ahead and do so.
Yeah, for another now, reason, it's just like just kind of like monitoring the situation type of thing.
Yeah. But now, any other episodes that may or may not be there could be that it's just mature. We've marked it mature, so that's just, you have to physically click, yes, I'm of age to listen to. So
either that, or if like you have your birthday on your Spotify account, it won't show those episodes to you.
Yeah. Our next email comes from Josh Wolf. We've had them on as a guest previously, but they've also sent an email saying, "Dear SFTM," and if you guys aren't aware of what SFTM is now, that's kind of sad. Yes. Zing. I just had a simple question for y'all. I was wondering if y'all could explain why you chose your Sona's names for
why you chose your Sonas and your names for the Sonas.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Thanks. And then Josh Wolf. So I've already, mine is Space Bear Sparks. It was originally Space Dog Spiff. Over time, I've evolved his persona and then into what he is now, which is funny because he's completely opposite from what he started. He started off as a husky wolf, then more husky, then a husky bear, and now he's a bear. It's actually a polar bear who's never been to the Arctic. So
interesting.
Yeah, right. And I've always, when I grew up, my nickname in my family was Spiff. And that was originally from the Calvin and Hobbes comic.
Oh, books. I do remember you telling me about that. Yeah.
Yeah. And as Calvin, he does this like persona thing that he likes to imagine himself as Spaceman Spiff. And that's initially how I started my name. I called myself Space Dog Spiff, and he was based off of Spaceman Spiff. And then over time, I've kept the name Space because everyone calls me Space. And now I'm Space Bear Sparks. And Sparks is actually part of his actual name, which is Gisette Sparks, which kind of got more of like a cyberpunkish feel to it. But I don't ever really reveal his name unless someone asks about it. So overall, it's just Space Bear Sparks. Yeah.
I always called you Space. I didn't know your name was Gisette.
Yeah, Gisette's the real name, but I never use Gisette. Only when I'm like doing specific art.
Yeah.
For him.
Yeah, that's fair. So my Sona is Bix. And he was actually like the third or fourth character I created. I created my first persona his name was Kodiak. He was a red panda. And I created him. I used him for a while, but he just didn't feel. I just didn't have a great connection with him, right? Like I loved him. I still use him as a character, but I didn't have that connection with him, right? So I just kind of played around with some ideas, and eventually came up with Bix's design. And I just kind of stuck with that design, and it's evolved over the years, right? He was originally he was a Wusky. Originally,
a Wusky,
a wolf husky,
wolf husky,
and then I changed him into like a husky / Shiba, right? Like a Shiba Inu, and then he was just a Shiba Inu, and then more recently, like I did a redesign like just last year, where I made him a border collie. Well, he was a border collie for a little while. But then I had to redesign him because everybody told me he looked like a fox. So I did a couple things. I made his ears floppy to make him look more like a border collie. Overall, the design has just evolved, right? The main design is the same, but I just add some things here and there. As for the name, originally when I created him in 2018, his name was Midway because I was a super big history buff and I was studying the Battle of Midway, and also I lived on Midway Avenue.
I thought you were going to say I lived on a boat.
I lived on a boat. No, the street I grew up on was called Midway. So that was kind of why I named him that. And then I don't remember exactly what happened after that. I wasn't quite content with the name. So then after a while, I renamed him. His name became Ardu. When I was a freshman in high school, I changed his name to Ardu. His actual full name was Ardai, and it's like Swiss. It was really hard to spell. But I just shortened it to Ardu, and I got really tired of putting accents on all the characters. So I changed his name again in the same year. His name was Ardu for maybe like 3 months, if that. And then changed his name to Bravo, and then I felt like that was too generic, so I changed his name to Kipo after a show on Netflix that I started watching during like quarantine. So I changed his name to Kipo, and after a while that was just like, whatever. And then I lost interest in the show on Netflix. So I changed his name to Targi after the Targi National Forest in Idaho and Wyoming, where I grew up, where the Tetons are. And that one I think stuck for a total of 4 days.
4 days.
4 days. He was not named Targi for long. And then I started reading a book series called Endling. It's a really good series. I don't remember who wrote it. Hold on, let me look it up really quick. It's by Catherine Applegate. So she's wrote a few different books. She wrote the one and only Ivan, which is a really popular book. She also is, and this is what's funny to me, she's also the mastermind behind Animorphs.
I don't know what Animorphs is.
Have you seen those? Okay, I'm gonna send you a picture of these because the books.
I probably do,
like,
but I just
all right. But the covers have like become memes in the furry fandom. Let me send these to you really quick. Okay, where did you go? Oh my gosh, I got like hundreds of messages since we started, and you're buried.
Oh God, these are awful.
Yeah, so they've kind of become like a meme in the fandom. Like you'll see it here and there. Specifically that horse one I sent you. They're just really funny. And like I think she wrote those really early in her writing career. Because her books have gotten a lot better since then. But yes, she wrote a book called Endling. And the main character in this book is named Bix. And she is part of a species called the Dairns. In my mind, I always pronounced it Darny because I just thought that sounded better, but that is absolutely not how it's spelled. And she's like a mythical dog-like species, but her species has been hunted to near extinction, and after her pack is hunted down and killed, she is believed to be the last of her species. So that's why it's called Endling. But the name Bix really resonated with me, and so I named my character Bix, and it has stuck since I want to say 2020. So it's been 4 years, and his name has stayed the same.
Impressive.
It's a really good series, by the way. I really it's a saga. I recommend. Sorry, not a saga, a trilogy. I really recommend reading it because it is fantastic. So that's my really long story about Bix. Yep.
Let's go on to the next one. We'll call this person Furry X because they don't want to be named.
Yes, they would like to be kept anonymous. So they said, my friends don't know what a furry is, but they still dislike the fact that I am one. What should I do to explain them what a furry is? And how do I explain it to my family who also doesn't know that I'm a furry? Please help. I think this will make a great episode. If you didn't make one like this already, thanks for taking your time to read this.
Okay, I do have something to say with this. Honesty is the best way to go about this route.
Yes.
The more you hide from your friends, the more you hide from your family, the more likely it is they're going to go search for things and find the things that you don't want them to see and give them more of a reason to not like what it is that you're interested in too. But also don't make it any more than it really is. You're basically creating a persona based off of yourself. It's got colors, it's cute or scary, wherever you want to go. There's lots of people in the world that are like this. You can find some really good articles online to show them. Anthrocon has a really good, about page about furries. Wikipedia has a really good one.
Yeah, Uncle Kage really went deep into that on the Anthrocon page. And another great website to use is Fur Science. They honestly, everybody who asks about furries, I send them to Fur Science because their
stuff isn't really up to date though anymore.
Not necessarily, but it describes it really well.
Yeah, that's true. If you guys aren't aware, Fur Science is what do you call it? It's like a census, but for furries.
It was so they wrote a book. It was this outsider group, right, who heard about the fandom, and they did a decade of. So they have a book. It's called Fur Science: A Decade of Psychological Research on the Furry Fandom. Right. And so they just really dive into what it is, where it came from, why people identify this way, right? Or why people identify with this. And honestly, it's a really great way to help people understand it. But yes, it is kind of like more recently it's become like a census, but it is so Fur Science is the face of the International Anthropomorphic Research Project. So that's a really great resource that I always recommend to people. Another thing I'll say is, yes, honesty is the best way to go about it. It's best that people hear it from you in your own words and what you like about it than searching something up on Google and finding stuff that you don't identify with and that like the bad sides of it, because they're all over the internet, I swear. So I really recommend
just being honest
and like explaining it in your own words, right? Like it's just a community of people who have a love for anthropomorphic creatures, right? Cartoonists, some people call us. They just call us
like that noise?
People who love cartoons. That was my
I heard
finger. This one. There's a lot of dust on my desk, and so I just wiped it away really quick and made that noise.
Okay. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, no, that was, I don't know why our house is so dusty. There's like inches of dust everywhere, no matter how many times I dust it. So.
Pickle. I don't know. Just the way that I said it. I might just keep that in. Our next email comes from a user named Used Organs. That's quite a unique name. I had to take a double take. I'm like, what? But they basically said, Heidi Ho. Oh, Heidi Ho. I don't know why I was struggling on that. Heidi Ho. I'm Used Organs. I'm 22, 1 year officially a furry. I've always loved drawing anthro, but only recently gone full furry, as the cool kids would say. I've been listening to your podcast at work. It makes my day. Love hearing you talk about furries. Makes me feel less lonely at work. Sending love. I got my Tiger Alien OC and my Sona, who is a hybrid. here is my question for you all. If you could make any hybrid anthro-furry with 3 species, what would you all pick? They also included some art, so I'll put this art in a... I can't remember the program we use. We use a program that I can just attach different things to it. 3 species? Shit. Let me think about this. Are we talking like ridiculous matchups? Because I could do a ridiculous matchup.
I think just go whatever.
Okay. It's going to be so butt ugly. Okay, so I'm going to go with a polar bear, with a seagull, and an octopus. And I'm going to call it Saberpus. Saberpus.
Make that a
or a pussy bear goal.
Pussy bear goal.
Oh, pussy bear goal. There you go. There's my 3.
I honestly, I don't really know if I go with 3 species.
But you have to.
I have to.
They asked.
So I've always loved dog otters, right?
Dog otters.
Dog otters. They're
is that
really
2 species
cool.
or is that 1?
It's 1 species.
Oh, geez.
It's basically a cross between a dog and an otter.
Okay.
Right? They are really cute. I love them so much. So I'd probably go with that. But then, oh man, what else? Maybe a rabbit.
That's
a dog otter rabbit.
Yeah. Okay.
So like an otter with a doggish face, but then like bunny ears.
That's cute.
I think it'd be really cute.
And then you got one more.
That was the 3: the dog, otter, and rabbit.
Oh, because I thought you meant like dog otter. I mean, it is technically a hybrid.
A dog otter is
a hybrid.
Already a hybrid.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's cool. Maybe I can get Dear Dog to roughly draw what those
are. So our next, my Amazon Alexa that's sitting here on my desk. I said pickle, and she flipped on.
That's weird.
That was really weird. Okay, so I'm gonna pickle it in again. Pickle.
Hey, it's space again. I love doing this. It's so much fun. I can see why Qrow loves to do it. So you may have noticed that I left the pickle in. I did that on purpose just because I thought the context was funny. You'll also hear about it later on, about his Alexa turning on because he says pickle, but for whatever reason he has his lock or his open to set to echo, and so pickle and echo are very similar in the way you say it. So you will hear it later on when we talk about it, but I thought I'd leave this in because I thought it was funny.
So our next email is from Farron the Seahorse, or Pixderp Art. And they said, "Hello, I recently found your podcast on Spotify, and I absolutely love it. I've been in the fandom for about 4 years now, but your podcast has helped me learn so much more about it, its terminology, and general structures. It's also fun how much humor there is. It always makes it seem like such a friendly conversation. I'm a fursuit maker and artist in the fandom, and this podcast has helped me learn more about what and what not to do in terms of selling my work and opening commissions." And then they included some images of their work. "Your podcast is awesome, and I hope you have a great day."
So they have some pretty good fursuits that they've made.
I like their fursuits. I think they're really good, especially the Wolflink.
Yeah,
Wolflink and the skull one. Both really, really good.
The skull one's really cool because the way that they incorporate kind of looks like part of the body's opened up a little bit.
Kind of like a little bit of gore almost.
Yeah, it's really neat.
But it's like cartoon gore, so it's not like freaky.
But they have some really cool fursuits. I was looking at the pixelated art thingy or whatever, or pixel art. What do they call themselves?
Pixderp.
I guess this one's called Hyacinth. But what I like is the background because it reminds me of those magic eyes where you have to cross your eyes to look at the image.
Ooh, fair.
Kind of can do the same thing with this one, and then it makes the image pop out a bit. But
yeah, they do have a page on Etsy as well.
Oh, that's cool. So thanks for sharing your pictures. We'll put that in there so everyone else can see it. And yes, along with your Etsy as well. So that way people can go to your Etsy.
All right.
Who's next?
You're up. Pickle.
Pickle.
No, wait. Why are you on again?
What do you mean, why am I on again?
Pickle. Oh my gosh, if I say pickle, it activates my Alexa. Hi,
You must have
Alexa.
put something in the Alexa that makes it say pickle.
I'm having trouble creating your routine. What routine? I think so. I have her wake word set to echo.
And there's probably
So
sounding like...
pickle. Yeah. It sounds like echo, I guess.
Okay, so for the time being, we're gonna change our word from pickle to...
We can say pickle. I'm gonna mute her, so her now she won't respond.
Okay.
So we can still use pickle.
Okay. And pickle. Okay, our next email comes from a gentleman named Radlad. Hello, my name is Radlad, and I recently found your podcast because my investment in the furry fandom recently shot up tenfold. As a result of this, I dedicated my English college final essay on a deep dive into the furry fandom, and your podcast helped give me the extra insight into things that I wasn't well versed with. The grades aren't out for it yet, but I had my professor check it out before I handed it in, and he found it fascinating. So I'm feeling confident that I aced it. But yeah, thanks for being an awesome resource for learning more about the fandom and giving me a podcast to listen to besides Distractable.
Distractable is a good podcast, though.
Is that a furry podcast?
No, it's I think it's one like hosted by Markiplier. If I'm thinking right.
They sent me a copy of their essay, which I still need to read, but it's big. So I'm excited to read it, but I think that's really cool that someone created an essay about the furry fandom. Mm-hmm. That's pretty neat. I mean,
I was gonna say, well, when I was in high school, I also did a few essays where they weren't like directly about the furry fandom. There was one assignment. I had a really cool English teacher my senior year. I was struggling with this assignment, and he's like, "You're a furry, right? Just write me a 8-page essay about the fandom, and I will pass you." And so I did, and I passed that class with an A because of that. He was a really, really cool teacher. He actually goes to FanX every year too, so I see him there. Yeah, he's a really cool guy. But yes, I'm definitely gonna read that. Our next one is from Nightshade. Yes. So, hi, I'm Nightshade. I've been a furry since August of last year. My main persona is a dragon whose name is Nightshade because I am referencing the shade of night, which is in my eyes. It is dark with splotches of light in it. So kind of like I'm picturing dusk, kind of, or like twilight.
So when it says Nightshade, I was thinking of the flower Nightshade.
Maybe. I don't know. I was picturing Twilight, but yeah. I just want to thank you all so much for the episodes you post. I listen to them almost every day, and I just want to say it's people like you who make being in the furry fandom worthwhile. That makes me happy. I like hearing that.
See, so I had to look it up. So yeah, Nightshade is a flower, but it's a poisonous flower.
Actually, no. You know the Zootopia, the flowers in Zootopia.
Oh that's that's the Nightshade. I wonder if that's where they got it from.
Maybe. I just know that Zootopia is the whole premise of that story is those flowers.
They're coming out with a second one. About time.
Mm-hmm. When? Did they actually announce that?
They did announce it, but I don't know.
Is it the R-rated sequels that the memes have talked about?
No. November 26, 2025. Okay. So one more year.
I was completely kidding. I just remember when Zootopia came out, there was a meme, and it was like breaking news. Disney announces R-rated Zootopia sequel.
It's probably AI.
No, this was back in like 2018.
Oh,
before AI was really a thing.
AI was really like a really thing. It was there.
Yeah, it was definitely just like a meme somebody made, like ah ha ha. But yeah, that's really cool. I like it when we can uplift people like that.
My next email is a big one. I say this with much seriousness. I love long emails. Okay. So our next email comes from, we'll call them Night Flare Vixel, just because, I mean, they do say their name, but I'm just going to keep it anonymous. I'm writing to you with great enthusiasm to propose an episode for your podcast that focuses on the furry fandom in Europe with a special focus on Poland and Spain. I'm a big fan of your podcast, and I've enjoyed listening to your conversations about various topics related to the furry fandom. I think a look at the European furry scene would be a fascinating topic for an episode, as it offers a unique and different perspective that what is usually seen in North American podcasts. just in general, just a side note, European furry scene is drastically different from the American furry scene.
Oh, absolutely.
And then that's also the same kind of thing is the Asian furry scene is completely different from anything you've ever seen.
Yes.
So for Poland, they suggest history of the furry community, events and conversation or conventions, artists and creators. For Spain, they mentioned recent growth, cultural differences, languages, and regionalisms. That's a new one for me. And Latino furries as well. The presence of Latin America origin in Spain. So we actually talked about Latin with someone, I think it was Josh, and the difference between Latin and what we. So there's a whole thing about that. Like, furthermore, in addition to sharing information about furry communities in Poland and Spain, I'd like to talk about my personal experience as a furry in both countries. I believe that my bicultural perspective could offer insight into the listeners of the Straight from the Muzzle podcast.
Yeah.
So I don't know why I paused there for a second. I am convinced that an episode about the furry community in Europe would be a great success for your podcast. It would not only be an educational and informative topic, but it would also be an opportunity to connect with global audience of furries. We do already have a connection.
I was going to say, we do have a lot of people in our groups from Europe and whatnot. But I do think an episode focusing on it would be great.
We've interviewed someone from Denmark, Australia, England, no one from Germany that I know of, but there are some people out there.
Do you have a connection with somebody who who is from Germany and might be a really interesting person to interview? I'll tell you more about that after.
Okay. I've attached a document to this email with more information about my proposal, including a possible outline for the episode, and I am open to discussing any ideas or suggestions you may have. Thank you for considering thank you very much for your time and consideration. I look forward to hearing from you soon. Sincerely, Night Flare Vixel. So I did actually respond back to them, but I haven't heard back from them at all. So I went straight to their Telegram, and hopefully I'll hear back from them soon.
Mm-hmm.
I've always wanted to do like more perspectives of furry communities across the world or around the world. So this will be really interesting. I just need to verify a couple of things with them first before I can go forward with this episode. And I won't mention what it is specifically. So I'm just waiting to hear back from them to see what they would like to do, and then we'll go from there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not opposed to it. I'm always open to new perspectives. I just need to make sure that a couple of things are set in stone before I can even think about doing a specific guest from a specific country. It has nothing to do with like cultural differences. It has everything to do with like, are they of age? Is there going to be any conflict? Plus, time difference is a huge thing. So
yeah, absolutely. My last email is from Blueberry.
Finally. We've only been Blueberry? No, wait.
Not Blueberry.
No,
not yet.
Not Blueberry. Not yet. Nope.
Okay, so hello, Straight from the Muzzle. I just want to say I love the podcast and I've been listening for a while now. I've had this topic on my mind ever since I joined the community about 5 or 6 years ago. And then he asked, why is the furry community so horny and lustful?
Why not?
He said on top of that, would it be possible for me to join an episode about it? Because I do have some opinions and viewpoints I would like to share with the community. Thank you so much, Best Blueberry. Honestly, yeah, kind of like you said, why not? Because I think no matter what community or what fandom you're in, there's always that side to it. There's always going to be that side to it.
It is called Rule 34.
No.
It exists. But the fandom isn't like fully horny and lustful, though. There are very much a lot of horny.
There are those people, right?
But it's not all 100% horny.
But like most of those people keep it behind closed doors, right? They'll have like a second Sona that will do that or something. I don't know.
I'd say like maybe a quarter of the fandom is like that.
Yeah, it's not the main thing, but no matter what community you look into, there will always be that side to it, right? Like the anime has hentai, bronies have their own thing, Star Trek fandom, like all of the fandoms have their own side of that. So I think it's a normal thing.
I'm sure there is some sort of porn out there of someone having sex with Starship Enterprise as an entity for Star Trek.
All right, I didn't want to think about that, but now that you've brought it up, I have to like check and see if that's actually a thing.
I'm sure it is. I'm sure it's a thing for someone to be sucked up into like a tractor beam from a Star Destroyer. I just there goes the penis. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. Take me. I'm sure there's tons of different things. You can find it if you really want to.
Yep.
So my last email comes from someone by the name of Kilimanjaro. Hi guys, my name is Kilimanjaro. I'm a huge fan of your podcast. My main persona is a snow leopard with saber teeth. It's so nice to have a podcast to listen to that's dedicated to the furry fandom. I constantly wait every day for you guys to post a new episode on Spotify. I also have a suggestion for an episode. Maybe you can do a unique species in the fandom. We do those, by the way. They're few and far between.
Yes.
But I'm looking up one called Zorgoias.
Have we done one about Dutch Angel Dragons?
We don't need to do one about Dutch Angel Dragons.
I think it would be really interesting to interview Telephone, though.
We already have interviewed Telephone.
Oh, we have?
Yeah.
Oh.
We've been interviewed
Somehow I missed that one.
Have you never watched any of the Fur Media videos?
Oh, okay. So I do need to go back. Those are like weirdly hard to find. Like I'll look it up on YouTube or on Google and like I can't find anything.
I brought them back up. So
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay,
but they're there. We have interviewed Telephone, Tear, a couple of dancers, a couple of DJs. And we don't need to go over the Dutch Angel Dragon communique. No. That's a whole can of worms I just don't want to open up anymore.
There is one smaller species called wickpeas that are not wickpeas, pickwees. Pickwees. They're really cute. And they're created by an artist named Soy Milk. And actually, Soy Milk is the person who really inspired me to start drawing, right? So like my art is based a lot around Soy Milk style. Soy Milk and Paco were both heavily influential to my art style. But also Soy Milk's brother was my scoutmaster for a while. So yeah, that's kind of how I was introduced to them. And then I started drawing from there. So yeah, I think we could probably interview them as well. Because it's a really cute species. I sent you the link. I don't know if you saw that.
I got to finish reading my email first.
Fair. Okay, I'll let you finish reading your email.
I know most of the creators have done this topic before, but I really like hearing about all the different species because I like getting ideas from all kinds of new characters. Anyways, you guys are my favorite podcast, and I really enjoy. I really appreciate the joy you guys bring with every new episode. They did attach their persona, which is super cute. I did ask if there was any significance with the name Kilimanjaro because of Kilimanjaro is like a volcano. But they just said no, they really just liked the name. They thought it was unique to them, so that's why they chose it. So yeah.
Honestly, what they said is I wanted a persona name that people remember because it's so original, right? The one that sounds unique. That's why I picked Bix. Because it was unique. I couldn't find any furries with that name out there. And it was memorable. So I can relate to that very much.
So that's it. That's all 12 emails.
Yes.
We did it.
Woo!
Woohoo. So that's pretty much it for the show itself.
Yeah.
We answered a lot of questions, shared a lot of fun opinions.
Had random side tangents.
Next month will be June. That's going to be Pride Month. I'm already working on some episodes for that. So
I will be happy to help host those, by the way.
Oh, cool.
We have Pride here in Utah coming up in like a week, actually.
Haven't decided if I want to go yet.
It's a week from today. So June 2nd is Salt Lake City Pride. I'm going. My boyfriend is coming down for it. So yeah.
And so are thousands of other Utahns.
Yep.
Crowded in one little area. So anyways, as per usual, we always thank you guys for sending in your emails. We'd like to let them pile up so that way we can have a big set that we can go over So that's why they usually only happen like 4 times a year. So, spring, summer, fall, winter, something like that. Yeah. So we have stuff. You can find us on Twitter. It's at From the Muzzle. And then you can find us on Telegram through all the links that we provide below. Oh yeah, we have an email,
Yes.
talktothemuzzle@gmail.com. Yes.
Send us an email. We want to see your emails. We want to read them on our episodes.
Yep.
So send us emails.
Send us emails. And that's it. Really, we don't have any.
Yeah.
So anyways, we'll see you guys on the next episode, which will come out at some point. But enjoy this one for now.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyways, have a good night, everyone. Bye.
Bye.